Welcome back. We're writing Little Man Computer in C++ to help me learn the language a bit better. I thought I'd just throw this short one in just to rename all of those tests after the refactoring of the way that the tests are run. So let's do that. So I've got the tests. As you can see now, we've changed the way the tests are stored to have this vector of named lambdas, which means that we can just iterate through that rather than having to have a function for each test and then rewrite out the function name in the main function to call them. As you can see here, we've done the first test, but that's as far as we got. So I shall just quickly whiz through all of these and type the names out slightly more clearly. So the first test was program counter is initially set to 0. Sounds fairly clear. This is program counter is. Oh, we've got a duplicate there. That's lucky we had a look at that, isn't it? So let's try that again, shall we? Right, so input puts the value of the inbox into the accumulator. Yes, these read much more nicely, don't they? Input handles inbox values greater than 999 using modulo. Input handles inbox values less than 0 using modulo. I hope that's the right word. Modulus, modulo, something to that effect. I may go and check that later. Input resets the negative flag. Output puts the value of the accumulator into the outbox. Store puts the value of the accumulator into the specified memory address. This is particularly beneficial on these longer test names. Load puts the value of the specified memory address into the accumulator. At some point I may shuffle the tests around so they match the order of the operation numbers. So 100 for add, 200 for subtract, and so on and so forth. Might just make it easier to find things later on. Load resets the negative flag. Must remember to commit these changes at the end. Add adds the value 2 in the specified memory address to the accumulator value 1, leaving 3 in the accumulator. Still just about fits on the screen. Adds the value 4 in the specified memory address to the accumulator value 3, leaving 7, not 87, 7 in the accumulator. And resulting in value greater than 999 results in modulo 1000. The other advantage of this mechanism of naming tests is that I can have non-letter number things as well, so I could actually put equations in the test names if that was a sensible thing to do at some point, which we may find useful. Negative flag. Yep. This is a long one. Subtract subtracts the value 17 in the specified memory address from the accumulator value 23, leaving 6 in the accumulator. We've gone over the line. That's a shame. Might want to rethink that that name at some point. Subtract subtracts the value 25 in the specified memory address from the accumulator value 37, leaving 12 in the accumulator. Subtract resulting in negative value leaves the accumulator with the modulo 1000 result. Subtract resulting in negative value sets the negative flag. Subtract resulting in positive value does not set the negative flag. Unconditional branching changes the program counter. Branch if 0 branches if the accumulator is 0. That seems a nicely logical name. Branch if 0 does not branch if the accumulator is not 0. Branch if positive branches if the negative flag is false. Branch if positive does not branch, spelling error in the original name that you couldn't see very clearly because of the strange structure of the string, if the negative flag is true. Little man interpreting output instruction results in accumulator value in outbox. And then we can just check that's run correctly. We haven't missed any. That looks much more nice. It's just a shame we don't have colouring, which I could do, but it would be somewhat specific to this console. It would be a shame. Perhaps we can have a better way of highlighting failures or a non-verbose version, or a non-verbose version that only shows failed tests. We'll have a think about that. So there we go. We've now just double check that I saved that. I'm pretty sure I did. So we now have somewhat nicer test names. At some point, I think I will really want to break up into separate test fixtures to make it clearer the groupings of the tests. We won't do that immediately though. What we will do is remember to commit our changes. Yep, so that's fine, isn't it? So git commit am refactor tests to not require explicitly calling all tests from main. I think it's a reasonable naming there. Excellent. So next time we can move on doing some real work again.